This is my full bulking guide. Let's get straight into it. These are my results. I went from 70 kilograms to 83, and obviously the difference is quite great. And this was over the span of quite a while. This is when I first started, and this is when I ended. I never really went on a proper bulking phase, but I've recently been on a proper bulk, and this is where it's got me. And obviously nothing perfect, right? Still a bit chubby here and there, but I've never been, properly lean before. So, and I've always been on the chubbier side, on the, more, I started skinny fat. So I just needed to kind of get the bulk out of the way, which is where I'm sitting at now. Now I can finally start like a proper cut and get really lean. So let's get straight into it. So what is bulking? If you don't know what bulking is, it's essentially you're just in a calorie surplus. So you're eating just a bit more food in excess of what your maintenance of food would be otherwise to, fuel muscle growth in the gym. And this will be paired with typically, weightlifting, like heavy weightlifting, progressive overload training. You'd be focused in on diet, recovery, all that sort of thing. This is what bulking is, but not dirty bulking. You want to have a clean bulk, even a lean bulk. And so yes, essentially, in short, all it is calorie surplus. You're eating a little bit extra food of what you would normally eat in a day to maintain your weight in order to fuel muscle growth while you're lifting heavy weights in the gym. It's as simple as that. So let's get into what the calories will look like. So you'll have your maintenance calories, which can be calculated via, a calorie and macro calculator. And then all you're going to do is add 300 to 500 calories on top of your daily maintenance to support muscle growth or muscle gain. And the problem that, people go with like bulking and trying to build muscle and all this, which is exactly what I went through when, a year ago, even not too long ago, was thinking that I can stay at maintenance calories and lose fat while gaining muscle, which can work, but it'll take years. It'll take a long time. Trust me on this. It'll take a long time. You're better off going on a proper bulk and then on a proper cut. You will not get to where you want to be by trying to stay at maintenance calories and be building muscle and trying to lose weight at the same time. It just does not work like that. So I was stuck trying to do this, and I wondered why all my training and all the weight on like bench and deadlifts and squat wasn't moving. I was staying at the same weight for like nearly a year, and I've been into the gym for like 2 years, and I still haven't hit 100 kilogram on bench or 225 pound, which is the standard threshold for if you haven't hit that yet, then you're not like properly going to the gym and you're not properly hitting it properly. You know what I mean? And the only way I was going to be able to achieve that was through bulking. But I just didn't at the time. I just didn't have it in me to actually bulk. I wanted to get lean, but then the issue was I started to not eat enough, and at the same time I wasn't tracking the food or anything I was eating, so I was starting to get lean. Like I was starting to get visible abs at some point, and the issue that came was I was just also losing muscle, so my strength was like very slightly declining, or if anything just staying at the same weight, and I wanted to increase it. I wanted to get stronger. And those losing weight and getting stronger, those two things don't mix. So you really have to either be losing weight or be gaining strength and muscle, which is what you would do in a bulking phase. So essentially, you can use a calorie or macro calculator. You can easily do this. Just search up anything, just calorie and macro calculator on the internet, and you'll find plenty. That'll help you calculate what your maintenance calories are. And I mean, this one does it for you even. Like you have your fat and carb split and how much, weight you want to gain and all this sort of thing. So that'll calculate all of it for you. But essentially the general rule, if you already know what your maintenance calories are, all you're going to do is add 300 to 500 calories on top of that, depending on how much weight you want to gain per week. If you want to try and lean bulk a bit more and kind of preserve like your abs if you have abs at the moment, or just minimize a lot of the fat that you can possibly gain, I would go on the lower side, even just 200 on top of your maintenance calories, so 200 to 300. But if you're not really, you just want to make as much muscle and as much strength as possible without really caring how much fat you gain, then 500 is probably ideal, because even at 500 you'll probably get the maximum amount of muscle gain and strength you can without just stacking on a bunch of the fat. So that's essentially what you need to do. And in terms of your macro splits, I think it's 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. In pounds, it's like 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. I believe. That's the range in pounds. But in kilograms, this is the range. When you're bulking, you don't need as much protein. So you can get away with 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram because you have carbs, and the carbs will be basically helping the protein efficiency in your body. Like your body uses protein more efficiently, and it'll be more sparing on protein when you're on a bulk. But when you're on a cut, so if you're on lower calories, you've got lower carbs, a lot of the time your body will use protein to fill in the extra energy that you're not getting from the carbs. So from the lower amount of food you're eating, your body essentially will use some of the protein as energy to fuel your muscles and your energy. So high protein when cutting, lower protein when bulking, because you can just fill it in with carbohydrates and that'll do completely fine. So with fat, you want to have 1 gram of fat per kilogram of body weight for optimal testosterone and hormone production. So I think in pounds, that's like 0.2 to 0.3 or something around that range per pound of body weight. And obviously, if you want to have less carbs, then on a bulk, you can honestly get away with having less carbs and having a bit more fat. If you want to have like high testosterone, you can have a bit more fat. If you prefer like fattier foods, it's honestly not that terrible, as long as you are getting a decent amount of carbohydrates, because on a bulk, it's quite important. On a cut, you really have to kind of keep your fat at this level. You can't really go more above that because your carbohydrates at that rate will be very minimal, and you need carbs for fueling your muscles and your energy for when you work out. So that will be your macro split. This is a rough estimate of what it would look like. So protein, carbohydrates, and fat. So as well as on this calorie macro calculator, it's got the split right here. So I did this for me. So 83 kilograms. I missed my age. I'm 21, but 177 and calorie deficit. I did this for even gaining weight at 83. So put me at 88 fat, 463 carbs, 183 protein. So there you go. And that'll gain me 0.5 kilograms per week. So honestly, it's pretty easy to use that, but you could just follow this rule. Like if you already know your maintenance and you just add, 500 calories on top, it's really that simple. So the other thing you need to really emphasize and make sure that this is an important part of your bulk is making sure the food that you're eating is quality, because junk food and processed garbage and all this stuff from like these supermarkets, it's not good. When you stuff your face with all this garbage stuff, a lot of it is just going to be fat, and it's going to make you feel like horrible, and you're not going to want to train. You're going to feel low energy, and it's really not ideal. So you want to be having things like steaks and eggs and sourdough breads and stuff like that, and high quality whole foods. You don't want to have all the terrible protein bars and all this like high protein yogurt and all those things aren't great. Just get normal yogurt, get like non-fat or just full fat Greek yogurt, whatever, depending on what your macro split is. And just stick to whole foods and healthy based foods. You don't need all this additive, like you don't need this artificial flavor here, you don't need this color additive here. You don't need any of that junk. Literally just eggs, steak, beef mince, ground turkey, even chicken, although chicken, is less nutrient dense, so I would probably stay away from that. Stick more towards like the red meats and stuff like that. But it's really that simple, like nuts and avocados and fatty fish, all that sort of stuff is 10 times better. And fruits as well. Fruits are extremely good, a very high quality source of carbohydrates, better than a lot of other carbohydrates like grains and roots. But when you're on a bulk, you kind of need to, have some grains and some roots like sweet potato and rice, because otherwise, like, you're not going to just eat 400 grams of carbs from fruit. That's way too much fruit. So you're going to have some jasmine rice or some sweet potatoes. Either are good. Either are really good. You could go with jasmine rice for your pre-workout, because jasmine rice is a bit faster digesting, which means that you'll get your carbs faster. And if you're having that pre-workout, that'll be ideal. And for post-workout, you could have like basmati rice, because they're slower digesting carbs, so it'll like kind of fuel your muscles over an extended period of time, which can help. And it helps with blunting your appetite and stuff like that. So it's also really important, so the way you time your meals as well. So the morning meal is essentially meant to break the night fast. So for a long time, all I was literally having when I woke up was a protein shake, and that was literally it. I would have that to start the protein synthesis, And the reason I did that is because in the morning I'll do all my work, like I'll do all the YouTube and everything I need to do. And if I have like a pretty heavy meal for breakfast, it'll like give me a bunch of brain fog and like, you know, slump your energy and all this sort of thing. So I'll literally just have a protein shake in the morning and then my coffee. And then after I'm finished working at like 10 a.m., I'll then have my pre-workout meal, which will be like high carbs, moderate protein, low fat, which mostly would probably consist of like, say rice. It would be rice and beef mince, or it'd be, you know, some like yogurt maybe with some fruits and stuff like that. So typically it'd be jasmine rice with some, you know, ground turkey or ground beef mince. Lean as well. You want a lean lean mince. So lean beef mince or a lean turkey mince. You want lower fat before you train. So for your pre-workout meals, you want lower fat because fat is slow digesting and you want fast acting energy. So you want to eat your food and you want to get your energy fast. So that's why, yeah, you'd have high carbs and moderate protein enough for the protein synthesis and being able to support, you know, the muscle growth and stuff like that. And high carbs obviously for energy. Post-workout, same thing. High carbs, moderate protein, low fat, because insulin sensitivity is hardened after workout, which means that the carbs you eat, your body will be more sensitive to, meaning you get better use of them, and it'll essentially push more energy to restore, you know, the muscle glycogen and stuff and your muscle energy, which is why you also want low fat at this stage as well, because low fat will again blunt the digestion process, so make it a bit slower, and you want your carbs in, you want them fast, and you want to refill all the energy in your muscles. So high carb, moderate protein, low fat. And then dinner is where you can, you know, have a bunch of your fat. So you have your higher protein, higher fat, a little bit of carbs still, and that's where, yeah, you'll get the majority of your fats at dinner, which is what I would recommend. And that can be like a fatty steak, fish, eggs, all that sort of stuff. And being consistent in this sort of thing, or finding the right timing for your own body, because it can differ for everyone's bodies, they're different. So this is what works for me. You can find out what works for yourself by experimenting, but if you want like a general baseline of what can work well, the pre-workout and post-workout isn't going to change for most people. It's going to be the exact same. Like no one's going to have high fat in a pre-workout meal. That's just not how it works. So, but if you want to get in some eggs or higher protein fats or anything like that, then you can have that for your morning meal instead of the protein shake or whatever. So, but that's just me. I work better without having eaten much and still staying fasted. So the most I can be fasted without, you know, being in a catabolic state and having muscle protein synthesis starting is by having a protein shake. So that's just for me. Let's get on to training or bulking. So this is really important because you don't want to just be eating all this food and then not have anywhere for your body to exert the energy, because then you'd just be wasting food at that point, right? You may as well not even be eating that much food. So you really want to emphasize progressive overload and heavy compound lifts, training every muscle group 2 times a week. So that can be done either the upper, lower, or push-pull leg split. You can do full body split as well. It's completely up to you what you prefer. I think the most efficient is probably upper, lower. Push-pull legs is good as well. So it's quite literally just what you prefer and what you find more enjoyable, what you find more fun. And that's really ultimately one of the most important things, because what you find fun, you'll do a lot more often and a lot more easier. So stick to what you like. But if you're not even sure, just go search up on YouTube some upper, lower, or push-pull leg splits, and make sure you're incorporating some like bench press, front squats, even back squats. I mean, again, it depends. I prefer back squat over front squat. Shoulder press, chin-ups or pull-ups, deadlifts, all that sort of thing. And what I would also recommend, if your goal with bodybuilding and building muscle and getting a better looking body, if your goal is to be more aesthetic or look, you know, better, you don't just want to be like a massive bulky like mess, right? You don't want to be like a massive bodybuilder. At least that's for me. I don't want to be like huge. I just want that aesthetic like V-taper look like that. That's essentially all I really want. So training the V-taper muscles that are the aesthetic ones. So biceps, your abs, your lateral delts, your upper chest, your traps, your neck, and your lats. Those really are what create the V-taper. Obviously, you want to still train legs, still train every other body part, right? don't just train that. So just make sure that you even have an emphasis just on those things there. So on these things, and definitely do not skip out on any of these. So make sure you're hitting traps, your neck and your lats. Obviously you'll do that in a back day, but make sure you're hitting all of these because these are some of the most aesthetic muscles to train. Now onto volume. So you want to have efficient volume. You do not want to like overtrain and just, be repping out 1,000 reps or 1,000 sets of whatever muscle group. You want to have efficient volume. So 2 sets, 6 to 8 reps. That's honestly the range I go for. I think that's like the bread and butter right now. So, but making sure if you're doing this 2 sets, 6 to 8 reps, you have to have very high intensity. You have to be pushing hard. You can't be going light. You can't be going till mild discomfort. You can't just be going, dun, 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 okay, I'm done. You have to be pushing till you cannot lift it anymore. It's as simple as that. I love the concept of training to failure, and I feel like there's no point in not going to failure because then you're just like wasting reps. I understand the concept of not training to failure on every single set because it can mess up your recovery and it can make you way too tired or overtrained. If you're doing two sets of 6 to 8 reps and you're going to failure on both of those, I honestly have not had any issues of overtraining or anything. It just makes sure that I am pushing as hard as I possibly can and building and growing the most amount I can using whatever exercise I'm doing. Doing 3 sets of even more reps and just going to failure, yeah, maybe that might be a bit much, but honestly you can do that in 2 sets, 6 to 8 reps, easily do that and get to failure. And you can do 1 rep maxes. I've been doing that on bench and that's been helping with that's just fun, more so, less so for building muscle. It'll help build your strength a bit up, which can help you lift heavier and therefore help you build a bit more muscle, but it's less efficient and it's better just being in the 6 to 8 rep range for muscle growth and hypertrophy. But if you want to build some strength, have some fun and see what your strength increases can be every single week, then why not? So yes, as I said, intensity is way better than like a million sets, right? If you can make very minimal sets but have insane intensity, it'll be 10 times more valuable than just overtraining and doing a bunch of like junk volume, right? Which is where that saying comes from, junk volume. You're just lifting for the core reason of just lifting weights and just throwing them around. You're not actually getting anything from it. And as well, you want to be still getting 10k steps in a day. So still have your cardio for health and fat loss and helping with insulin sensitivity and stuff like that, because it's just good for your body, good for your heart, and it can help with not just gaining as much fat and burning a bit more fat here and there during the bulk. So yes, still include cardio, 10k steps a day, even just 30 minutes after you work out. It's completely fine. Let's go to recovery and sleep. With sleep, you should be in bed for 9 to 10 hours in order to get 8 to 9 hours of actual sleep. So people think that, I'll just hop in bed at 9 p.m. and then wake up at 5 and that means I got 8 hours of sleep. No, that's not how it works. You will usually more so get 6 to 7 hours of sleep doing that, because it takes your body an hour to actually get into this productive sleep stages and actually start the recovery process. So it can even take longer because you have to account for sleep disruption, waking up in the middle of the night or having to go to the toilet or whatever else you do that happens during the night. The ideal amount of sleep or the ideal quality of sleep you get, it's probably still beneficial to be in bed for the 9 to 10 hours so you can get 9 hours of actual good sleep. So that's just a tip. It'll mean you're in bed probably a lot earlier than a lot of people, or you'll feel out of place maybe even a bit. I've been going to bed around 8 and 9 for a long time now. So I usually hop in bed around 8:30, and that'll give me some time to read whatever I need to read or do whatever I need to do, and I'll be in bed at 8:30 sitting there reading, and then that'll help me drift off to sleep by 9 usually. It doesn't take me too long, and I'll be good to go for the rest of the night. I wake up like 5:30, 6 around then. So that is good. Rest days are important. They are productive. Don't feel as though you're wasting time with rest days, because rest days are important for your body to recover, and you really want to avoid overtraining and getting that like fatigued state, and it can reduce your overall testosterone as well if you're overtraining. So the actual ideal amount of working out per week for ideal testosterone levels is actually around 3 to 4 days a week. And it's funny because it's for optimizing your recovery and stuff like that. Now, for optimal muscle growth, it's debatable. You can 3 to 4 days can work, but I tend to just stick to like 5 to 6. It works for me. I don't really even notice a difference in my testosterone level, so it should be fine. But as long as you're training all muscle groups like 2 times a week, you should be completely fine. And yeah, getting in around, say, like between 10 to 15 sets per muscle group each week, that should be completely fine. That's really all you need. And yeah, training each muscle group 2 times a week, you can't really go wrong with that. Do like 6 sets, like each workout for whatever muscle group, and you'll just repeat that another day, and you'll be at 12, and that's all you need. So it's really that simple. And yes, and stretching before bed as well. That's a really good thing I've been doing recently in order to kind of relax for bed. Because when you're working out, you know, you get sore, your legs get all like a lot of tension, and they get stiff, and your arms get stiff, your chest gets stiff, and they're all sore because you've been working out. Stretching can help a lot with releasing the tension, releasing like that stiffness in your body before you go to sleep. And I find that it does genuinely help with sleep quality and being able to go into a deeper sleep, and even being able to go off to sleep faster, because you're not as like you're more relaxed, which obviously is way better for falling to sleep. And as well, cutting out all blue light and electronics 1 hour before bed. I'm sure everyone knows this already, and it's been said, but no one actually does it. It's the thing, like everyone goes, oh yeah, you cut out all blue light and electronics 1 hour before bed. They've heard it a million times, but they don't actually do it. And I didn't think it really had an effect, because I used to, you know, watch my phone and scroll on my phone and all this before bed. God damn. Yeah, I used to scroll on my phone, look on my phone, watch YouTube and all that sort of stuff while I was in bed trying to fall asleep. And I would fall asleep eventually, but usually it was, I look at the time and it's like, oh, I need to go to sleep. So I'd have to turn my phone off, put it off to the side, airplane mode, all that, and then I would finally go to sleep. But just cutting out all the electronics and sleep 1 hour before you go to bed, and just reading a book is genuinely just the best thing to do for sleep. As well, you want to be working out earlier in the day as well. Like, you can go in the afternoon, probably around between, I'd say the latest you would want to go work out is like 5 p.m. Working out like later in the day, like at like 6, 7, spikes your cortisol, and you're going to be home wanting to go to bed, but you just worked out. So you're like, adrenaline's pumped up, your body's like active, like you just lifted heavily, a bunch of cortisol, adrenaline, all this sort of thing, which is not good for sleep. So work out earlier in the day or in the afternoon at the latest. So what are the supplements I take? Supplements will not replace your diet, they will support your diet. I take caffeine, whey protein, creatine, vitamin D, magnesium and zinc, and fish oil. These are mainly optimal for testosterone levels, vitamin D especially, because a lot of us don't get enough sun. Magnesium and zinc, magnesium for sleep, zinc for testosterone, and then fish oil for the omega-3s, because I'm not, I don't eat fish that much. So getting my fish oil in is important. Creatine as well, everyone should be taking this if you're working out. It's been proven to be beneficial towards muscle growth. Just take it. And then whey protein is sort of that another supplement that to support your diet. Now I only take whey protein in the morning for when I want to break my fast and get protein synthesis going. So that's really all I take for. I would stay away from ashwagandha if you're anything like me, because when I took it, it had a toll on my emotions in terms of making me a bit more emotionless, or I didn't, feel as much happiness or enjoyment or excitement or any of the good emotions you can feel. Although it can help reduce your stress, it also, reduces your overall emotions that you experience. And I'm already less of an emotional person than most, so that really blunted my emotions down. Plus, I'm not a very anxious or stressful person, which basically means that there was no reason for me to take it. I was essentially just taking it to reduce cortisol before bed, for better sleep and obviously better testosterone, because lower cortisol leads to better testosterone essentially. And my cortisol was already pretty low, so it didn't really benefit me. It, if anything, just had downsides to it, if anything. So if you're an emotional person, or you have really high stress, you have really high cortisol, you're a very anxious person, you struggle to go to sleep because of stress, or you overthink, or any of these things, then I would recommend experimenting with it. But yeah, if you're anything like me, you're already, not too emotional, and you don't really suffer from stress and anxiety and all those type of things, then I would probably stay away from it. All right, and tracking your progress. So during a bulk, it is important to track your progress. I tracking the foods is something I would very recommend. I would highly recommend. Tracking your lifts and what you lift and how much weight you're doing or how many reps this week and next week. I wouldn't necessarily so much worry much about that, because you can get away with just every single week just remembering what you did last week and then just putting the weight up or trying to do more extra reps. You can sort of, at least I was able to track that in my mind, and being able to go to, like, seeing as I go to failure a lot of the time, I typically will just go to whatever exercise, put the weight at whatever the rep range will be between 6 to 8, and be able to get to failure between that rep range or in that rep range. And that kind of always makes me hit the hypertrophy goal or what is that? Hit the progressive overload for that week. So yeah, I don't really have an issue with that. I don't necessarily need to track my lifts, but tracking food is definitely important. That's something that I would highly recommend, because making sure you're dialing in your nutrition is 100% the most important thing. Making sure you don't gain too much fat, getting the optimal amount of protein in to support your muscle growth, and getting enough carbs for energy. All these factors need to be almost perfect, and to make sure you're not eating slop or any garbage foods, tracking will be important. And AI tracking, like those AI tracking food apps where you like take the photo or you show the AI like the bowl of like whatever you're eating, they're not accurate. Like, they might be within like some type of ballpark, but a lot of the time they're not that accurate, and you can see it. Like, it literally just like guesses what's in the rest of it compared to like what it sees on the top of the food, and it doesn't. Yeah, it's not accurate. So you legitimately need to weigh things out, or figure out what your structured meal plan will be, and then just sticking to it religiously to ensure like maximum results. And as you gain weight, you will need to adjust your calories very slowly, so like increasing them very, very slowly over time, because as you adapt to that excess in calories of your maintenance, your body will adapt to it, and your weight gain will start to taper off, and it will eventually get to another baseline, and that will become your maintenance. So then you need to keep adding a bit more and a bit more over time, and that's essentially what you'll need to do. You can also track via visual changes, so taking photos in the mirror to track your progress. You can track it by your strength increase on your workouts, on bench or deadlifts or squats, whatever it is. Making sure you're weighing in, so you're doing a weekly weigh or your daily weigh-ins, and tracking that, which I'm pretty sure you can do on the MyFitnessPal app. So that works perfectly fine. So in conclusion, what are we going to do? We're not going to eat too much. You do not want to dirty bulk. Don't eat garbage foods. You want to eat clean, whole foods. You don't want to have any structure, and you do not want to have inconsistent training. You want to have the complete opposite of all those things. So you want to find your maintenance calories, add 300 to 500 calories. On top of that, you want to be training 4 to 6 times a week, and you want to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, which means what? You have to be in bed for 9 to 10 hours. Track weekly. So tracking your statistics weekly, your weight, your strength, which you can just keep a mental note of. That's what I do. Tracking your food and so on. Do this for 3 to 6 months, and I mean, you will almost have guaranteed growth. And at this stage, if you're first starting out, I would honestly recommend to bulk, unless you're like, already really overweight, then cut down. That's fine. But if you're skinny fat or you're skinny in general, start your gym journey while you have the newbie gains by going for just like a straight year or something of bulking, and then after that year you've maximized your newbie gains, and then you can cut down after that to then get lean, get abs, etc. So there we go. I hope I've covered everything you needed to know. There might be a few things here and there, but I'm pretty sure I've covered the majority of it. I didn't go through specific training programs or structures or specific food meals, because obviously I can't account for individual needs and individual specificities or specific needs of individuals, like allergies or gender or weight or any of those sort of things. So do your own research, figure out the foods, and figure out your macro split. I gave you the macro split that is optimal, and using the macro calculators you can figure all that stuff out. If you need to, you can use ChatGPT to go and question it about an error occurred. You can go question it for good foods to eat, and making sure that you're staying within the lines of nutrient dense foods, whole foods like red meats and steaks and beef mince and turkey mince and eggs and avocados and nuts and olive oils, all those type of healthy foods. Jasmine rice, sweet potato for your carbs, and kind of you can get AI to structure it into like a good structured meal plan specifically for you, and you can get it to help you figure out how you want to cook your foods, and if there's any certain meals you want to make that will taste nice. You can do all of that, and that'll help you, as well as your training. There's so many things on YouTube you can go look up for optimal training routines, like upper, lower, push, pull legs. Go look up Jeff Nippard or any other like natural bodybuilders, and yeah, you'll be set with the amount of information that's on YouTube for good training routines and things like that. So do that, and you will be set. You will be good to go, and you will be on your way to building muscle and getting in that bulk. So do it, get the bulk in. See you, bye. Thanks for watching.